Hello there, beautiful beings. It's story time. I know it's been a while since I've done story time. So I'm going to start with the ones we had today, which is September the 20th. So these were our main totems for today. Oh, it's falling out my ear here. Shaman's Death and Mouse Scrutiny. So I don't believe I have story time for either. So I'll read them both here and then timestamp for where Mouse is for later use when these come up again and it's not today. Okay, so from our Sacred Path book, read the little poem there. Grandfather, I do ask for death for the parts of me that will not hear or seek the truth. Hear or speak the truth, which are too blind to see. Grandmother, give me birth again, with love as my guide, truth and beauty as my path, with nothing left to hide. The teachings. The teachings of Shaman's Death have many varied forms in the ceremonies of Native America. The idea of death as a means to experience new life is a common belief. Since all life is seen as movement on the medicine wheel, nothing is really ending without also being a new beginning. The wheel of life contains many spokes that mark the life lessons and steps that every living creature will have to experience on the trial of physical life. Trial. It can feel like that, but it's a trail we're on. The trail can be full of trials, it seems, but they're for growth. Okay. These steps are called the Good Red Road and represent the spiral flow of life that comes to humans from great mystery. Native Americans have been taught that judging the steps another person must take in order to grow is foolish and unproductive. As the wheel of life turns, all humans will reach the place where they will have to learn similar lessons. This is where Shaman's Death comes into play. If the lesson of each spoke on the medicine wheel is learned, the lesson of the next spoke is made available. The shadow side of self, which inhibits growth, is constantly forced to die. These deaths occur on a daily basis, whether they be our fears, our doubts, our bad habits, our negative thoughts, or our self-importance. These deaths mark spiritual progress and speak of the ability of humankind to walk in beauty. Every death of a part of the shadow announces the birth of a new talent or gift contained in the self. Each victory over a part of self that does not walk in beauty is a rebirth in itself. Every time a person reaches a crossroads and a decision must be made, that change in attitude marks the death of the old and the birth of a new. A shaman is a person who is willing to confront the greatest fears and shadows of physical life. When I was working with Joaquin and the grandmothers in Mexico, I was taught the difference between a healer and a shaman. A healer is a person who is able to use the forces of good medicine to effect a cure in the body, mind, or spirit of another. The healer, or curandero, does not use the forces of the shadow to effect or cures. The shaman, on the other hand, is a healer who has gone into the underworld and has unflinchingly confronted his or her own shadow as well as the evil of others, and can successfully deal with those forces of darkness equally used with those of light. A shaman can do exorcisms and can reverse hexes and the results of black arts that have been used on a patient. The shaman, as well as the healer, can effect cures, but only the shaman is trained in dealing with any type of black arts that may have caused illness. Many people in today's society are calling themselves shamans without any knowledge of exactly what this means. If the would-be shaman does not have the ability to look at his or her own shadow side, this person is not meant to follow the path of the shaman. This person would never be able to confront or handle the results and or intentions of black shamanism. Among the people of Mexico and Central and South America, the black arts and the use of good and bad medicine together is very prevalent. Many shamans have died trying to protect others, thus invoking the wrath of those using the black arts. Although this type of bad medicine among shamanism is not prevalent north of the Mexican border, it does exist. True medicine people do not have to announce or brag they are shamans or medicine people at all. They work quietly and with humility because they know their worth in the eyes of great mystery. The opinions of others do not change the sense of self held by a true healer or shaman. A shaman has walked up to the gates of his or her personal hell and then walked in. The self-created demons of fear, insanity, loneliness, self-importance, and addictions have been confronted and conquered by the shaman who has gone through the gamut of shaman's deaths. The quality that always shines in a true shaman is compassion for the paths that others must walk. This comes from the fact that the shaman has also walked through the underworld of the shadow and knows firsthand the pain involved in breaking the stranglehold of inner darkness. One such death rebirth ritual is called the Night of Fear. This tradition is practiced by many North American tribes as a way to confront and conquer fear before going on a vision quest. The actual initiation involves going to a remote area and digging one's own grave. Then the seeker will lie in that grave alone all night. The opening to the grave is covered by a blanket. The sounds of the night and the nocturnal prowlers act as a catalyst that bring forth all of one's greatest imagined fears so they may be confronted. Since the person cannot see through the blanket, the sounds, combined with imagination, are his or her worst enemy. The fears created by an active imagination can lead to the retrieval of an inner courage or to the total paralyzation of the senses. After a person remains awake all night and confronts the shadow-like fears that stalk the imagination, he or she is eligible to go on a vision quest. Another type of shaman's death ritual comes from the highlands of Mexico. In this ceremony, the initiate is stripped of clothing and is painted on the body with bat symbols by members of his or her own gender. A hole is dug in the center of the village that will only allow the buried person's head to be above the earth. Then the seeker is buried, standing up for a 24-hour period. All of the villagers call names, kick dust in the seeker's face, and urinate or defecate near the head of the buried and the helpless person. The initiate is not allowed to answer any calls or actions verbally. The horror of what is happening destroys many of the notion one has of oneself. These indignities are a total surprise to the initiate and must be dealt with silently, with courage. The initiate is never explained beforehand except in the broadest terms. The initiation is never explained beforehand except in the broadest terms. After the 24-hour ordeal, the initiate is removed from the hole and taken to a steam to be washed and perfumed. The members of the village dress the seeker and return him or her to the village draped in flowers and a new white garment. The final surprise is a feast that is held in the honor of the bat god who stayed with the seeker and assisted the rebirth. Those who fail are lifted from the earth and washed and then looked after until the shaman's illness leaves. This illness is a borderline insanity that has broken the will of the shaman and can split the personality. Some villages have one or two initiates who lost touch with reality during the process and are cared for as people touched by the gods. The value of these types of shamans' deaths is that when a person succeeds in coming through the fire of insanity, the mind is strong and cannot be thought adjusted by sorcery. Thought adjusting is a telepathic invasion into the minds of the unaware. It is an ancient technique that involves the use of adjusting the attitudes or ideas of others for means of controlling their reason. Many black shamans seek to drive white shamans to insanity through invading their dreamscapes or using fear tactics to make their victims go crazy. In this way, those who oppose the misuse of shamanism are removed from the game board. It is imperative for people studying to be shamans to study with a trained, tried, and true medicine person. To unwittingly delve into shamanism without guidance, especially in those countries that regularly practice dark arts, can be life-threatening. Shamanism is also the ability to commune with all spirits dwelling on all levels of creation. When a person has this ability from an early age, it can be severely misunderstood. The natural shaman has usually had one or more major traumas between the ages of 1 and 7. These traumatic events cause a tear in the embryonic ego matrix that destroys the boundaries of the child. The sense of self and one's sacred space is torn open, and the communication between the self and other voices begins. A small child is not able to discern which voices are helpful and which are harmful, and therefore may react to the direction of harmful earthbound spirits. In severe cases where the child is constantly abused by adults around him or her, the child may develop schizophrenia or split personality syndrome. In modern cultures, the treatment of these symptoms is tragic. In Mexican tribal cultures, the child is taught how to eliminate the bad influences and accept the good voices that will lead to an adulthood as a gifted shaman. The series of shaman's deaths that must be conquered in a child's life is a natural path of discernment and strengthening of self. These inner battles are always fought with the assistance of trained healers and shamans of the tribe. The finest shamans in our world today are those healed healers who have walked the path of death and rebirth, destroying the shadows that have blocked their inner clarity. Once a person has experienced the hard-fought road to wellness, it becomes easy to assist others in doing the same. When a shaman can recognize the shadow inside the self, diagnosing similar darkness in others is possible. The willingness to confront anything in the self that is not serving the sacred path to wholeness and to go through the cleansing process of the shaman's death is admirable. Shaman's death is not just for shamans. Every time anyone wishes to change old habits and begin life again in a new and more productive way, there is a shaman's death. If old corn stalks were not burned off and plowed under, the soil would not be fertilized and new corn could not grow the next year. That is the Mayan and Aztec symbol for rebirth. That hangs upside down in the cave, just as humans make ready for birth, nestled upside down in their mother's wombs. The darkness of the cave is safe for Bat, just as the darkness of the womb is safe for unborn children. In leaving the womb or the cave, each person is forced to look at light and shadow. Then one must make the decision as to which of these sides of the self will allow for further growth. The duality of the universe will evolve into the uniworld when each person is able to see both sides as equally contributing to the process of awareness. The shaman's death is one symbol of this growing understanding that leads to wholeness. The application. In choosing the shaman's death card, you are being put on notice that a death cycle or ending is in progress. Before the rebirth can occur, that the habit, attitude, relationship, or part of self that is dying must be looked at. Assist the process by consciously allowing the old to be removed. Let go, and then make way for the new cycle of life to take hold. Remember that you are creating fertile ground for new adventures when you are willing to let your old identities die. The rebirth cycle is always full of promise and growth when you allow the old patterns to die with dignity. And 1523, we go to the mouse now. Okay, mouse, my medicine cards. Mouse, if I could see the world through your tiny eyes, maybe then I would know how to scrutinize. Every detail carries weight, and true to its purpose, has its perfect puzzle place to stop the three-ring circus. Scrutiny. Mouse says, I will touch everything with my whiskers in order to know it. Paradoxically, this is both a great power and a great weakness. It is good medicine to see up close. It is good medicine to pay attention to detail. But it is bad medicine to chew everything to little pieces. Mouse has many predatory enemies, including birds, snakes, and cats. Since mouse is food for many, it has a highly developed sense of danger at every turn. So-called civilization is a highly complex set of components which calls for more and more organizational skills and scrutiny to detail every year. Mouse is a powerful medicine to have in these modern times. Things that might appear insignificant to others take on enormous importance to mouse. Mouse people anger many other medicine types because they appear to be nitpickers. Mouse people will spot the lint on your coat, even if it matches in color. They will try to convince you that the simplest task is fraught with difficulty. They are fixated on methodology. They sort and categorize and file away for later use. They may seem like they are hoarding, but this is the farthest thing from Mouse's mind. They are merely putting everything in order so that they will be able to explore it carefully at a later date. The chiefs tell us that without Mouse, there would be no systemization of knowledge. Mouse ended Renaissance man and hearkened the age of specialization. Mouse knew from the very beginning that there is always more to learn. One can always delve deeper and deeper and deeper. If your personal medicine is Mouse, you may be fearful of life, but very well organized, which is with a compartment for everything. You should try to see a larger picture than the one staring you in the face. Develop largesse of spirit. Try to become aware of the great dance of life. Realize that even though you may be sitting in Los Angeles, there is also a New York, a moon, a solar system, a galaxy, and an infinite universe. Jump high, little friend. You will glimpse the sacred mountain. If Mouse is in your card spread, its medicine is telling you to scrutinize. Look at yourself and others carefully. Maybe that big hunk of cheese is sitting on a trigger that will spring a deadly trap. Maybe the cat is in the pantry waiting for you. Maybe someone to whom you have delegated authority, such as a doctor, a lawyer, or even a plumber, is not doing the job faithfully. The message is to see what is right before your eyes and to take action accordingly. In the contrary, Mouse in the contrary position may be telling you that you are spending too much time with matters of great consequence when you should be paying a traffic ticket or sweeping the Hogan. You may have let yourself become slovenly. Ooh. You may have let yourself become slovenly. You may have developed a disdain for authority and order. You may be procrastinating about something that needs immediate attention. Bring Mouse medicine to your life's chaos and you will soon have everything tidy and shipshape. Another message of Mouse, reversed, may that you are pipe dreaming about your own importance in life. Are you wondering why you have not been nominated for an Academy Award? Well, why not? You can't be recognized if you're not taking care of life's detail and walking in humility. Remember that all good things come to those willing to work towards wholeness. Little Mouse needs to see the big picture, but only assimilate the information the picture gives a little at a time. Expansiveness can be overwhelming if you forget to take it step by step. Confusion is a product of too much, too soon. Little Mouse can conquer any task by using its scrutiny. Slow down and write the contrary medicine. Stop chasing your tail or being confused by the maze and start observing the details of your present pathway. Heart hugs.